Well, Derek says there have been over 160 incidents involving this next-door neighbour. He's reported the problems to both the police and to the council, but nothing seems to be happening. They just seem to be leaving Derek to put up with this. And whilst I can understand that clearly this lady's got some issues, clearly there are things going on, and I'm very sorry for her if she's having issues, as far as I'm concerned, that does not give her permission, and it certainly does not give the council or the police permission just to shrug their shoulders and say, well, sorry, it's one of those things, you'll just have to put up with it. I don't see why Derek should have to put up with it at all. Derek's back on the JVS show now. Hello, Derek.
Morning, Jonathan.
Good morning to you.
Not a particularly good one, but it is a morning.
You've had a bad weekend, have you, Derek?
Only slightly. We've only had 19 incidents since the last time we was on the show.
Just give us the top headlines, if you would.
Yeah, well, basically, Saturday, Sunday and Monday, there was things on the car.
Things like?
How can you put it? A sloppy number twos.
Oh, dear. Right.
Then on the Sunday, it was soil and bits of garden waste. Obviously, she'd picked it up and just lobbed it over. Mm-hmm. Yesterday, Sunday, well, no, sorry, wrong day. Monday night, it's like a whole meal of tapioca, sort of ready meal, sort of pasta, all liquid over both sides of the car, the boot, some over the bonnet, obviously over the roof. And then we've got 13 instances of food waste in various formats.
Right.
Over the garden, over the roof, over the drive, and some more garden waste 3 times, lobbed here and lobbed there.
Okay. Well, I mean, all of it is unpleasant.
And we had a nice letter from the council Friday night.
Okay. Now, hang on a second, Derek. Before we get to that,
yep.
So let's just first of all recap where we're at with the council and with the police, because we obviously have involved both, and both of them were already well aware of this situation. It's Northamptonshire Police and it's Northamptonshire Council that have been dealing with it. Miles, first of all, just remind us of their initial responses, if you would.
So Northamptonshire Police's initial response was Northamptonshire Police is aware of ongoing issues reported by a resident. In order to address the situation, officers have held joint meetings with the local authority and adult social care. As a result, the force has received information which means officers are unable to take legal action regarding the complainant's reports. This fact has been communicated with the complainant, and we have provided reassurance that we've explored all criminal and civil options open to us. We've also in February provided advice on how to log and report incidents to the force going forward. Northamptonshire Police acknowledges the frustration this situation is causing for the resident and continues to work with council and health colleagues to find a long-term and workable situation. The force is unable to share details of these plans as they contain confidential information. So that was from the police. The council, North Northamptonshire Council, came back to us and said, whilst we understand and appreciate that this is a difficult situation for Derek, we're unable to comment fully on circumstances that may breach an individual's right to privacy. We're committed and continue to work towards resolving the matter and have offered Derek some solutions that may lessen the impact. We will continue to explore and offer support in any way we can.
Now, I wasn't very happy with either of those responses because as far as I'm concerned, I'm hearing a lot of words, and what I'm most interested in on this is action. And I said on air last week, I said, how would Northamptonshire Council, how would they like to be living in Derek's house, having to put up with this peculiar behaviour from the next door neighbour? She's either well enough to live in society and to live in society without causing any kind of harm or nuisance to anybody else, or she's not. And somebody needs to make a judgment call. And if necessary, the authorities need to step in and find somewhere more suitable for this lady to live. Because it is totally unacceptable, as far as I'm concerned, that Derek is having to put up with food being lobbed into his garden and onto his drive and on his car. Now we hear that apparently human waste is also being put on the car, which is just disgusting. This is not acceptable. So you were going to go back to the police and the council and make them aware of my frustration at their previous responses. What have they said now?
So the council have said that they've double-checked, the person who I speak to, double-checked with the team as if there's any more we can say. They've confirmed the council's already provided a response to the media query to the level of disclosure that they're able to, unable to respond further. Questions regarding responses to Derek's neighbour being held accountable for her actions should be addressed to the police or the CPS. That's Northamptonshire Council. OK, well, thanks a lot, Northamptonshire Council. Absolutely nothing more than empty words. Weasel words, as I described them last week. What have the police had to say? So Northamptonshire Police have said while the force has great sympathy for the person affected in this case, as stated previously, all criminal and civil avenues have been explored and cannot be further pursued. Work remains underway with partners in regards to monitor the situation and to find a long-term solution for all parties. Complaints regarding this matter can be made direct to the Force's Professional Standards Department, to the Office of the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner, or to the Independent Office for Police Conduct. OK. So no further forward at all. Derek, you said you received a letter from the council. Does it shed any more positive light on what they might be doing or not? You know, you were just talking about brain cells. I don't think they've got brain cells. OK, let's not make it personal, Derek. Let's just keep to the facts. OK, the letter is basically, we think you should put a 6-foot fence from both sides of your boundary, i.e. from the back garden to the front of our property. And if you need planning permission, we'll help you with that. Or if you need deeds changing, we'll help you with that. Being, if we put the fence up, she might not be throwing them over. Fact is, if they actually looked at the clips, even last Wednesday, or it might have been Tuesday, she lobbed a brick over a 6-foot fence. She has done, I have got clips over the weekend of her orbiting food waste up to nigh on 5 to 6 metres. So tell me how a 6-foot fence, and we're about 3 foot below her, actually deals with any of the problems. No, I mean, not dealing with it. No, the fact that they're suggesting that you, at your expense, should now have to put a 6-foot fence up, that she will be able to chuck stuff over anyway. I don't really see that as a reasonable solution to the problem. Now, they also said there has been a reduction. No, there has not been a reduction. Last year there was 164 incidents. This year there is 161, and we're only in the first quarter of the year. Listen, I don't believe that any of this is acceptable. But what can you do when the council and the police both seem to be saying, well, there's nothing really more we can do. It's all a very delicate and a sensitive situation, so, you know, we feel terribly sorry for the gentleman, but unfortunately there's not really very much more we can do. Our hands are tied. There must be something that can be done. And I have a sneaky feeling I know the man who might have one or two ideas. His name is Nick Freeman. He's the lawyer known to us, and indeed many people in this country, as Mr. Loophole, and he's on the other line. Hello, Nick.
Good afternoon, Jonathan. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning. Thank you so much for your time on this. I mean, it's a horrible situation for Derek. What more can he do? Because the council and the police don't seem to want to know.
Well, it's a deplorable state of affairs, and as you say, that a lot of people are speaking many words that have absolutely, they're meaningless. It's, yes, we appreciate, we sympathise, da-di-da-di-da, but there's not really a lot we can do, and whatever we can do is all confidential and secret. It's complete and utter nonsense. On one hand, there's clear criminal activity taking place, possibly public order offences, criminal damage, public nuisance, to name but three. And in my view, what the police should be doing is they should be investigating, they should be charging. They always need to consider, is there sufficient evidence? Is there more than a 50% chance of conviction? Absolutely. Is it in the public interest? Absolutely, because no one should put up with what Derek's having to put up with. And if there are mental health issues which mean that the lady concerned is unfit to plead, then the local authority and the services will then have to get involved. They don't have a choice. They'll have to deal with something because the court will make them. So that would force the matter. And what I don't understand, what's so frustrating is people just are unwilling to do their job. And the police clearly, if they're listening, they have a public duty to arrest this woman and charge her, investigate it. Clearly the evidence is there. It's on video evidence. It's captured on CCTV. And charge this lady, take her before a court, She clearly satisfies the charging criteria. If she is so seriously mentally impaired, then of course the police and the local authority have power to remove her immediately from society and put her somewhere that is suitable and safe. So that is what needs to happen. Derek should be making a formal complaint immediately against the police conduct. I would advise him to, I don't know whether Derek has taken the trouble to speak to this lady. I always think the first thing to do is try and speak and say, look, this is really causing me a serious problem.
Just to let you know, Nick, and we've explored this because that was exactly the point that I was making as well. However, apparently he's been advised not to communicate with her by the local authority.
I think that's complete and utter nonsense. I disagree with that completely. I would speak to her and say, look, you're causing not only huge inconvenience, huge nuisance, but I've got young children who visit here, or they might be my own children, throwing bricks over, and I understand other items have been thrown over. You're causing a danger to life. And what is the council and the police going to do if that brick landed on somebody's head? That they would be in a very serious situation. Both public bodies owe a duty of care. They're not exercising that duty of care. They're departing from it at the moment. They're turning a blind eye to it. Derek, I would also immediately go and seek legal advice and start a private prosecution against the lady. Unquestionably, a summons will be served and you can charge her with the offences that I've mentioned. And what would undoubtedly happen is the CPS will then take the case over. But you need to do that quickly because obviously you're having incidents rain on you on a daily basis and it's extremely unpleasant. You need to catalogue everything as you clearly are doing. And I would go back to the local authority and I would insist that they say, are you going to take this lady into a place of safety or move her? And if not, why don't you do something about it? Put it in writing, because to suggest to put a 6-foot fence up is the most ludicrous thing that I've ever heard. I will make a formal complaint to the Ombudsman against the Chief Executive of the Council, and I would also I would start civil proceedings against the lady, but I don't know whether she has any money or not. I have no idea of her personal circumstances. If she's a lady who has some means, and I don't know where you live, I don't know the value of your house, your financial situation, or hers, but if you feel that she is a lady of means, I would immediately start civil proceedings against her for a variety of different issues. Undoubtedly, you will be successful, but what you don't want is to throw good money after bad. If she hasn't got anything, then that's not the route to go. So that there are a whole variety of choices there. Clearly, you can't sit and do nothing because this will just continue.
Yes.
So a private prosecution, civil action if she's got money. I would lean very heavily on the police. I'd make complaints, and I'd keep engaging I'd engage as much media as I possibly can to put pressure on these authorities to do something about it, because their disregard for your welfare, your comfort, and your safety is nothing short of scandalous. And they should all hang their heads in shame because they're suffering from a dereliction of duty, as they well know. They just simply can't be bothered getting involved. They do have the power precisely to deal with this situation. They need to get on and do it.
Well, you know this programme, Nick, and there's no way we're going anywhere until this is resolved, because I'm outraged that Northamptonshire Council and Northamptonshire Police would just leave Derek and his wife in this horrible situation. And of course, Derek, he can't even move because he can't sell his house to somebody else. He can't sell the problem. So he's stuck.
The value of his house, as you rightly say, at the moment, whilst this problem persists, is clearly reducing. No one will buy that house. It's Derek, with respect, obviously at the moment, you've got a serious problem in terms of moving. And if this lady has got means, I will be suing her, because one of the issues is the effect. Of course, is your house has dropped by whatever in value.
Yeah. Well, let's take it.
That's something that you will be successful in. So, but my starting point will be, I would go back to her today. I would say to her, look, I don't know, Derek, when you've spoken to her, what's her explanation? What did she say?
I have been advised
how bad is she?
To confront the lady.
But I'm not saying in an aggressive way, absolutely not.
No.
In a collaborative way.
They said basically, keep away from her.
With a view to achieving what?
That's kind of their problem.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to say it that way, but because they've been so blatant, they've said, do not confront the lady, do not do anything, and kind of keep away.
Derek, okay, so Derek, I mean, and I absolutely agree with Nick, and as you know, from the very first moment when you came on this programme, I said to you, have you had a conversation with her? Have you gone and knocked her front door? You don't need to be aggressive, but you can just try and have a conversation.
And I understand that. And
is it not worth...
Hold on a second. If I walk down my drive, she's swearing at me. I was doing work in the back of my garden on Saturday night, and she was effing and jeffing.
At you?
Why didn't you ask your wife to go and speak to her? Is there something there that's... Is there a catalyst here? Are we, am I missing something? Is there something that's caused her to react like this? How long have you been there? How long have you lived in the house?
Close on to 40 years.
Right, and how long she lived there?
I think maybe 15, 20. She moved in when she married her husband.
Okay.
And
so
she's been on her own. I don't know now. I waited.
So something's clearly happened, Derek.
I think from our previous conversation, Nick, I think what seems to have happened is her husband. Did her husband die, Derek?
Right. Her husband fell on the drive. He had cancer.
Yeah.
Blood was coming out the wrong places. I waited for 2 hours for an ambulance to turn up.
Yeah. So the only reason I'm asking about his situation is I think from our previous conversations, Derek, it became apparent that obviously when he died, the problems then started subsequently. So that's obviously Nick being the catalyst for whatever has caused maybe a breakdown.
Unjustified blame or something. Yeah.
Then I was speaking to my next door neighbour, which is the other side of this lady, because he was working in his garden this morning, and he said he's had food and he's had things thrown on his garden. And I've also seen it when I've been out in the garden, her lobbing things over the back garden.
Just out of interest, though, Derek, if, as Nick says, if, for example, your wife went round and knocked on the front door and calmly said to her, look, this behaviour is really getting us down. We don't want to push things further if we can possibly help it. We would far rather we just resolve this issue in an amicable and friendly way. But you've got to stop throwing things over into our garden. It's not okay. What do you think her response would be?
Blank.
You don't know that, though, because you haven't tried it.
No.
I think the point is this. You've lived as neighbours for a long, long time without incident. And there's clearly a causation here. And it may be that if your wife speaks to her and says, look, what have we done to upset you? How can we resolve this? What can we do? Tell us what we need to do to keep you happy. That sort of approach might work. Well, probably with your wife, Derek. No disrespect to you, but it's worth a go, isn't it? It's certainly worth a go.
I understand that. But when this first kicked off, this was very mellow. We didn't... The police didn't push it, the environment people didn't push it, and it was done in a very mellow environment. My wife works for a nursing home company. She deals with this. She's not a carer. She's in the management. So if there was a problem then, that could have been brought up at that point. No one...
So did your wife talk to her at the beginning?
She may have done. I don't know, because it's been going on so long and there's so many instances.
Right, let's fast forward, because I don't want to go over this. Every time we talk about it, we end up getting into the why don't you just go and talk to her. Yeah. And I always get this feeling that for whatever reason you don't want to have the conversation. And that, okay, let's move on then. So if we work on the basis that in the past you've had a conversation, things haven't gone well, what is this woman's financial position, Derek?
She may own the home. She may not own the home. I know it's a private home, but whether she owns it or not, I do not know.
Do you suspect she has money?
Possibly.
Right. So in that case...
Her husband's died. So the likelihood is she will have money.
Right.
Can I make 2 points first?
Well, not really, Derek, because I want to take this through in a logical manner, if you don't mind. So if we work on the basis that she has some money, and you suggested, Nick, that some kind of civil action would be beneficial, how costly is that, and how do you do it?
You need better to have a lawyer, go and see a local solicitor, and take a civil action against her for that. You'd probably be advised to do it for tort, possibly public nuisance. You go to you depending on it's not the amount of damage, is it? Although, of course, in assessing the amount, you've obviously got the devaluation of your house. What you're really looking for, to be honest, is not just recompense. You're looking for a court order telling her to stop. And if she doesn't stop, she's in contempt of court and she gets locked up.
Okay.
What we're looking for is the courts to engage. And once the courts engage, then she's caught in the system and they deal with it. At the moment, we can't get into the system because the authorities are reluctant. There's one other thing, just while I'm thinking about it. Have you spoken to Environmental Health?
Yeah, and they said, this was last June, we believe she's got mental issues, and we're going to hand it over to adult care. This is what I was going to say. I've been accused of breaking into her house, stealing items from her coming to the front door, me sending children into her property to steal as well. It's obviously a mental issue.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah. I understand with you.
She's got serious mental issues.
Yes.
It sounds.
Yes, and you just need somebody to recognise that and to deal with her. So here's how we're going to deal with it from here. As Nick says, I think consulting with a local lawyer and begin the ball rolling with some kind of civil action against her. What I will also ask you to do, Derek, and I would like you to just run it past us before you send it.
Fair enough, yeah.
Because I've seen some of the emails that you send, and I don't mean to be rude, but the way you set out your emails in all different fonts and different things like that, it doesn't make you...
I am fully understand that.
It doesn't make you look like a calm and rational person, and you need to look like a calm and rational and reasonable person in your correspondence. But what we need to do is we need to assist you in making a formal complaint to Northamptonshire Police, because...
I have done that already, and I did that...
I think, look, reading between the lines, Derek, and forgive me for saying this, she seems to have a problem with you, and I just think that it might be worth asking your wife to go and say, look, can I have a cup of tea, or invite her around to your house? Can we have a chat, please? We want to resolve this. That's, if you find it within you, or your wife does, it just may be the easiest, most expeditious way, because clearly she's capable of behaving perfectly normally, because she has done for many, many years. So there's something here that's really upsetting her.
I don't, but to be honest with you, Nick, I just don't think that's going to happen. We've been there several times on that particular issue, and unfortunately, I don't think that conversation is going to take place. So if we work, civil action first, complaint to the police, get the ombudsman involved in terms of the council not doing anything about it, and we will stay across this until it's resolved. Derek, are we all clear on the way we're going to proceed?
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Sorry, Nick. Yeah, go on.
All right. And obviously, Derek, it's very important that there's no aggression or confrontation or anything of that sort. I know it's incredibly intimidating. I can't imagine what it's like, but you have to be very, very calm. Because what you don't want us to get... Because this is a situation... I'm sure you are. This is exactly the situation. You go around there and you'll get arrested. That's what's so perverse and ironical. The police will be jumping to arrest you for a public order offence. Whereas they're not going to touch her. It's bizarre, it's disgraceful, but just be very, very careful. Do not give them the opportunity. Okay?
And the thing is, we can all understand, Derek, none of this is in any way a criticism of you, because we can understand that when you're having to live in this situation, it can all just get a bit much. And sometimes being able to be calm and being able to be kind of almost businesslike in terms of your dealing with it can be really difficult when you're emotionally involved. I totally get that. I'm sure Nick does as well. What we need to do is to try and help you navigate a way forward so that this woman is held to account for her actions, and whether that involves her continuing to live in that house or not, that's not really down to you, me, Nick, or anybody else to decide, other than the local organisation, the authorities. They need to get involved and they need to step in and try and deal with it.
That's what I said from day
There's
one.
one final thing. There's one final thing that I have mentioned, and I would reiterate it. You do need to start a private prosecution. If the police are not going to, start a private prosecution against her.
Absolutely,
Okay?
and hopefully that's what...
So do that. Pincer movement, private civil action, private criminal prosecution. And that's what,
Okay.
Yeah.
Nick, as always, thank you very much indeed for your time. We will keep you posted. Nick Freeman is a lawyer known as Mr. Loophole. We will, of course,